All right. Thanks for coming. And good morning or good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you're coming from. Uh, we have a lot to cover. I like doing half an hour webinars. I think it's a nice little chunk of time. Um, I want to introduce myself. My name's Grant Smith, and I'm here with Ben Terrell. Ben will be doing the demonstration, and we'll get to him in a minute. I have a couple of slides just to kind of set the scene of what we are covering right now and where we see the structure of this all going. And then to talk about innovation and low code, because we are a low code platform. I think everyone on the webinar knows that by now. And then we'll do the demonstration, which I promise is exciting to see. We'll have time for Q&A at the end, and perhaps a call to action if it comes to that. So how do we set this scene? Like, I think this was the line that really drove me forward, was when Oracle said we can't do this anymore. There's too many use cases. And they're right. There's too many use cases for mobile these days, right? Every department wants to do it. Everyone wants to do everything they can on the phone. I saw a study at a manufacturing plant where even the janitor said he could probably get 40% of his work done using only his mobile device. I assume he's not mopping the floors with it. So all the requisitions he does, all the inventory he stocks out, everything. Everyone wants mobile to do the things they want to do. And it's all little tiny use cases. Very few of them are full digital transformation of the entire organization. It's just, I'd like to see sales here. I'd like to enter this. I'd like to look at these things. I'd like to see these documents. I'd like to do these transactions or these inquiries. So it's not just this one thing. It's all of these little ideas that people are coming to you with. You as an IT department, why can't we do something, this little tiny piece? But it's not a little tiny piece to you guys. It's a big piece. It's a big thing. Learning mobile is a big thing, right? So you get all these ideas, and then you have to ask yourself, how do we start? Like, how can we accommodate all of the requests that we get? And then as soon as we enable one, we're going to get 10 times as many requests because it will go viral in the organization. They're doing a mobile app. Where's mine? So, what I've seen, and I've worked in application development for 25 years, right? It's, well, let's learn 50 frameworks and decide what's best, and then hope it doesn't get superseded by the time we're done developing. And maybe that'll go well, and hopefully we'll adopt it, and maybe we can integrate to it. Or we outsource the whole thing. Just have someone else build it in the languages of their choosing, and we just have to live with the consequences. Or we end up hiring someone, a full stack developer, full time, who might be a real technologist, might be very savvy with technology, but what normally they're lacking is the business acumen. They don't know your business. And knowing your business and knowing the processes and knowing where the data is stored and knowing what needs to get validated, right, is just as important as the UI of the application. It probably is 3 times more important than the UI of the application itself. So there are other choices though. And there are other ways to do this. And I can go up and say, you can do this yourself, right? We can do this ourselves. But okay, so how do we get started, right? There are a lot of ways to get started, right? And you can do this, but what I've seen more often than not is people have that hammer and everything becomes the nail, right? And I was trying to find some nice alliterations to kind of explain my point, but I found these and I thought it was quite adequate, right? There are, how much time is it going to take for you to do with the current skills that you have? How long will it take? This gentleman here I guarantee will eventually get this tire inflated, as long as he has a robust back and strong shoulders and an unbelievable set of determination. Right? So do we have the skills in house to do this right now? So the people who know the business and the people who can help us enable this without having to just inflate the mining truck tire. Like, do we have the tools to do this well? And there's one thing, can we do this quickly? Because I guarantee once we do one, you'll get 25 others. Can we do this quickly is a really important question to answer. If you can't do this quickly, are there other ways to do it? Right? And the second piece is, can you do this safely? Like, I'm writing mobile apps, perhaps giving them to people who aren't part of our organization. Is our security model in place? Can I guarantee, right, from not just from a security, but from a DevOps perspective, we have everything we need to protect ourselves? So those are the two, sides to this. We're talking about developing custom apps for anything, whether they be mobile, native, web, whatever. Do I have the right tools and people in place? And can I safely deploy this to my community, whether that community be inside the four walls or outside the four walls? But this is where we come into play. And this is where we add a tremendous amount of value in being a tool that can do all those things for you. So when we talk about this, right, and I was sort of searching around, and a tool for developers almost sounds kind of, it's weird coming out of people's mouths, but everyone else, every other profession is allowed to use tools, right? Woodworkers can use tools, dentists use tools, surgeons use tools, mechanics use tools, electricians use tools. You would be more nervous walking into a surgery center and they didn't have tools than you would otherwise. But I did a Google search just this morning on application development tools, and the number one image that came up was this box of stickers from Amazon.com. Like, you should be allowed to make your job easier as a developer. You shouldn't be forced to write ones and zeros constantly. Every other profession uses them, and it's totally okay. Why are you relegated to the back? You shouldn't be. Tools help. Look into them. We have a fantastic one, right? That allows us to do things at speed and safely and securely, right? Because we're cloud-based, right? We integrate the JD Edwards out of the box through direct tables, through business functions and BSSV, through Orchestrator, very easily, right? You can develop these applications without writing code. We have DevOps all built into our system. So you can do one-click deployments between your environments, and you can trap every single command that gets entered in, so you know who changed what and when. If you're publicly traded, it's critically important. So we have this tool, right, versus the box of stickers. Like, I hearken you to look on the left and say, this might help our company more. And we're going to show you now, right, why we not only think it'll help your company more, it does help your company more, right? Low code platforms are technology insurance, right? With a single set of skills. We've been around since 2004. With a single set of skills, our customers were developing web apps, and then they moved to mobile, and now they're doing native without changing anything, without changing the code, without changing the logic, with the single skill they have. All integrated, 90% of our customers are JD Edwards shops, so all integrated to JD Edwards. And all different versions of JD Edwards too. So it's not just you have to be on 9.2 and the latest tools release. We have customers all over the map. It's great if you are, but if you're not, we certainly help. So that said, I'm going to pass it over to Ben, and Ben is going to kind of explain where we are and show the situation, and then build a new app for us.
All right. So what I just opened up on my phone is the Easy Process native mobile app that's available in the App Store of your choice. The application that I'm going to demo today is essentially an inventory transfer app. So we're going to select an item, and then we're going to select a to and from branch plant. Let me turn off auto rotate. And then we're going to select the to and from branch plant to complete the transfer. So going to search for this item, M001, the search button, and then click the transfer. And this brings us to a new page. So we have the item number in the from branch plant filled out, and then we'll define a quantity. We'll say 15. To branch plant, we have a lookup icon here. If we click it, it brings up a window, and then we can search for another branch plant. So we want to transfer this to D30. Same thing with location. We have another lookup here. So this brings up all the locations within the branch plant. Let's choose this one, and then we can define a lot number. So let's say 15. And then when we click this transfer button, it integrates with JDE. And if we pull up E1 now, JD Edwards, and we go to the inventory transfer application. And we'll just do a search here. And the very last one should show our results from that transfer that we just did. So this 1253 here. And you can see we have that item number that we selected. We have the quantity of 15. And we have that to location that we selected, the lot number, and so on. So that's what the application does. What we want to do now is we want to change this application so that that search box, instead of manually typing in the number, we can just scan a barcode, and that'll automatically fill in that item number for us. So on this other tab here, this is the Easy Process IDE. So I'll go ahead and log in as my user. And the first thing that we're greeted with is a list of applications in our IDE. So if I scroll down, you can see we've created a lot of applications here. This inventory transfer, which is what we're working with. We have an expense reporting app, customers and orders, and so on. So if I click on this inventory transfer app, it'll bring us into the IDE specific to this application. And so when we do that, we're greeted with this menu. This is essentially how we manage the application. Just to introduce a couple of menus here, we have the security menu where we can set up users, authorizations, and so on. Development, this is where the bulk of developing web pages and methods and workflows. This is where all of that would have happened here. And then we have a lot of other menus for different things in the application. So in the upper right here is an icon. This is the developer workbench. So if I click on here, it brings us into this developer workbench where we can select a project. So if I click on scanner demo, this is the project that I'm working with. This is the project that I used to develop those pages that you saw in the demo earlier. You can see all of the objects that we have in this application. So the one that we want to modify is the scanner page right here. This is the first page where we listed out the item numbers and the search bar. So I'll click on this, and this will bring up the MVC canvas. And let me actually Let's see, it's assigned to another user, so let me just assign it to myself real quick. Okay, and we'll just open it up.
Well, Ben, how long did it take you to build this application to start?
Yeah, what you saw earlier probably took a couple hours, like, yeah, 2 to 3 hours, I'd say.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the version 1 was a 2-hour event. Okay.
Yep. And so this is what I just opened up here is the UI canvas. Everything that you see here is translated to what you saw in the demo earlier. So if I click on phone view in the upper left, you'll see, let me log in again. You'll see that this is what we saw in the demo earlier was the list of item numbers and the filter at the top. And you can see that here as well. So what we want to do is add a scanner control to the search box. And so if I click on this text box and over to the right here, we have some properties. We're going to search for a property called right icon. And so we want an icon for the user to be able to click on to activate that scan functionality. So that brings up this property here. And we can actually click on this question mark here. This tool integrates with Google Fonts, so we can use any sort of icons here that can be found here. So I'll just search scan, and we have a QR code scanner here that looks good. And so all we need to do is copy the name to the right here. And then we can just paste it into this text box. And now if I go into phone view again, see the text box changed. It now has that scan icon here. It doesn't do anything yet, so we can click on it all we want, but ideally we want this to pull up the camera on our phone and be able to scan something with it. So the next step here is to over down to the lower left here, we have model and controllers. So the first thing we want to do is add a controller. This is going to be a native scan controller, and we'll just call it scan webinar. And you can see this at the bottom here. It's as this little scan icon, that means it's a scan controller. And now that we have this created, we can attach it to our text box by clicking on this lightning bolt. And it brings up this dialog, so we can add a new, on the right icon click, we want to activate a native scan, and we want to call that scan webinar controller that we just made. So we click on save, and we'll close. And now that we have it all connected, we can actually go inside the scan webinar controller and define the logic for it. Because clicking on this pulls up the logic canvas. This is the canvas that you'll see defining logic anywhere in the application. It's all drag and drop services here. And you can see it automatically created these 3 services since it's a scan event. So what we can do is just connect these services up. This first one will get the value from the scan, and then we can decide where to put that value into. So that's where the update element comes in. So we're just going to add a new element to update, and we have to define the ID, and we have a little helper over here to do that. And what we want to update is the search box. This is what we're updating with the value. So let me close out of that. That's all we're updating. And the last service here is Invoke Event. This triggers some event on the page. And what we want to do here, or the goal here, before I define that, is to update the search box and then invoke the event of that search button. So essentially, we're mimicking a click on the search button here. So we'll do just that. We'll plug in the ID for the search button. Then the event type, there's a few different options here. We can just do a click. And now that's all set up. So the very last thing we want to do, going back to the UI canvas here, is on the right here. We just want to connect the text of the text box to what we found in the scan. So this property over here, I can just put a webinar test in here, and if I go to the phone view, you can see that text is right here. So what we want to do is make this text dynamic. And to do that, we can click on this pencil icon. We can select dynamic. And we can search through our model and controllers. We'll just select that controller that we have and that scan service, which gets the value. So if I just click on this, now this text will be whatever we get back from the scan. So everything should be complete here. So if I log back into the application, let me pull this up again. You'll see the same thing. We have that scan icon, but if I press on it on my phone, it pulls up the camera. And I have some barcodes already laid out here. So this is P001. Scan it. You can see it automatically fills in the filter. And it fills it in and automatically filters the list for us. So after that, we can go as normal. I can click on transfer and just fill out the rest of this information here. Select the location and fill out number 18 and just click transfer. And then, yeah, just as before, we should see the same thing at the end of our inventory transfer list here. We have a new one, 1254. And if we go into it, same thing. We see our item number, the item description, that quantity 7, lot number 18, and so on. So yeah, that's about it.
All right, thanks, Ben. If you want to share, I will share my screen, or I just do it for you, I guess. So thank you. So we did it, right? I think that was 10 minutes and 20 seconds, but it also included the entire demonstration of what it did before. Really putting the barcode scanner in was about 5 minutes of work. So, I hope you got some value out of that, but I just want to give you some more value that you can look into this. It's like, what is our value proposition within that regard? So we have this platform, right, that allows you to develop web, mobile, native, workflow, headless applications. It integrates to JDE. We give you free education and mentoring, right? So we have this platform that does all of these things. But the value proposition is you only pay for what you use. So if you have a single application and you only have 20 or 30 people using it, you're not going to pay a fortune to get this to work. So as you get more successful using the application, we get more successful together as a company. So it's not a huge barrier to entry. It's not this, we have to buy this 900-pound gorilla and hope we could eat it in time. It's here, you can have this. As a matter of fact, we'll allow you to use it. We'll connect it up to your JD Edwards for free and give you the education and help you along with it. So we want people to try this, and we think we have a great value add in the amount of things that we can accomplish without having to write any code at all. So that said, I'm going to open it up to questions. I know there was a few, so I'm going to have get the Q&A screen up. So hang on one second. The first question. Okay, so This is for you, Ben. Did you do that demo on Android?
I did. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But you support iOS? This supports iOS.
Yep. The same thing is supported on iOS as
Okay.
well.
Okay. Does it work for tablets?
It does. Yep.
Okay. Okay. This is a question we get a lot. Actually, the next two are. Can you help us build an application to show? And the answer is yes. If you have a use case that you would like us to, perhaps if it's small enough to build for you and show your company, your organization, how quickly this can get done, we'd be happy to do that. We can also collaborate together. So if that's something of interest to you, please reach out to us. And the last question is, what does this cost? All of our pricing is published. It's on our website. And let me see, one other question is, do you integrate with Mdm Systems? We do, because we have our native app is in all the app stores. So we can work with Mdm Systems that exist today. If you're using one internally, that is something we do. If there's any other questions, that is my email address and my phone number. Please let me know. We really enjoyed spending the time with you today. Take care. Thanks, and have a great rest of your afternoon.